Hi students, welcome to Sreedhar'scce Anantapuramu YouTube channel and welcome to our session Editorial Analysis. So all of you know that what do we discuss in this particular session, like quote of the day. We start with the quote of the day, quotation, like for the motivation purpose, and one word substitutions were already completed, almost phobias and manias list. So right from the starting we discussed number of one word substitutes even in this particular slot, and so even these days we have these phrases and idiomatic expressions through editorial also, like what are the idioms and what are the phrases, what are the phrasal verbs given in this editorial are also discussed. Apart from this, additionally, so I am giving you so right from the last 3 days I am giving you idiomatic expressions, especially in the exam point of view, so you just follow those. So what sort of errors you make, especially in the examination, so will be clearly known in this particular slot of idioms and phrases. And next, phrasal verbs additionally, so like we're almost at the verge of this phrasal verbs in the alphabetical order, and editorial analysis today's related, and the last but not the least, test of the day with a new pattern, especially useful for your preliminary exams, so to crack the maximum number of marks. Right guys, let's get to quote of the day. So your time is limited, so don't waste living someone else's life, by Steve Jobs. Everyone knows so this person Steve Jobs, pretty familiar. This person, so what he said, your time is limited, like you may think you have a lot of time, like to set your goal, to reach your goal, to aim, target, everything. But the thing is, so you people wasting the time living someone else's life. That means like you compare yourself with someone and you try to think about yourself like someone. So in this ways, so here the thing is, so you're misusing, you're wasting your time living someone else's life. The thing is, you just live your own life and you just be in your own pot, like whatever it is, you live your own life, then time will be used in a perfect manner. Like idioms, exam point of view, indicate is followed by two prepositional, like people may get doubt, so this may act as phrasal verbs. Phrases, prepositional phrases, so indifferent to words and inherit from. So whenever you get these, fix in your minds that these particular prepositions only will be followed by that particular verbs. Indicate, so wrong usage, disapproval from the managers, indicated his disapproval from the managers, obviously wrong. So the small mistake here is indicated from the managers is wrong, indicated his disapproval to the managers is right. In the same way, indifferent means not having any emotion or not being partial towards towards, I'm saying towards someone or something. He is indifferent towards the sarcasm, he is indifferent different to. So what difference do you get, like towards and to, like both are same, like students may think, but the thing is, so that's obviously wrong. So you must use towards. The sarcasms means ridiculous comments of the manager, of his manager. Next, inheritance, like the things which we get from our predecessors, like our forefathers. Samira has inherited her features from her features with her father is obviously wrong, so from her father is obviously correct. Let's get to phrasal verbs. So run away, this is a pretty familiar phrasal verb to all of us. Escape from a place or suddenly leave some place is called as a runaway. He ran away from home at the age of 14 years. That means he went away, he left the place suddenly, he escaped from his house. Run into, like meet by accident. See here, run means to run physically is a completely different task, but here run into means so you meet by accident or sometimes unexpectedly, and this one also can be replaced by bump into. So both are similar in sense. Sheetal ran into Meera the shopping center. What does that mean? She did not run towards her, she ran into means she met her accidentally at the shopping center. You can replace this ran into with bumped into. She bumped into Meera at the shopping center also can be used, and moreover ran into can also be used for this debts. He ran into debts. That means it's not unexpected movement, so he was immersed in these debts. Like shop around, compare prices. What is this compare prices? So like you are shopping around means like it's always wise to shop around before buying anything. Like you should compare prices before buying anything is a regular thing. Like if you want to say it in a phrasal verb sense, so you should shop around before buying anything means you should compare the prices among the shops. Next, show off. This is a familiar phrasal verb to all of us. Like show off means what? Like you are showing to someone like you want them to be admired, to admire you people. So there's Devesh showing off his new sports car. Hey, see, there is Devesh, that fellow, what is he doing? He is showing off his new sports car to all of us. Like brag means, so show put up, like we say this in our regular nativity. Next, let's get to editorial vocabulary, you know guys. So editorial, what things we are covering? Militia. Militia is equal to armed forces or military unit. Militia is another form synonymous to military. Escalation, escalator, like intensification and increase in the intensity of something. Like Shia. Shia is relating to Shia branch or something like Islamic branch. It's a kind of branch in Islam, that is Shia. Tenuous. Tenuous means strenuous, hard and strong and strength and effort. Weak, fragile, shaky, insubstantial, unspecific, indefinite is tenuous. Tenuous, strenuous. Remember guys. Next, rebel. This one is very pretty familiar to all of us. Agitator, insurgent, subversive, dissenter. So many new words we got here in this. So all of you, I hope you are taking these PDFs and like revising this. If you don't, definitely you forget. So number of things are handy to you right now. Like the only thing you need to do is, so you are taking PDF, just revise now and then, definitely they fix in your minds. That's what I ask you to do, people. Like Sunni is also a sect of Islam, and Sunni jihadist means Sunni extremist, like who has extreme feelings towards the personal branch of Islam is called as jihadist. Observation post, what is this? A position which military observations are made, so through which observations towards the other countries are made is called as military base. Also can be used. Position for the watching of enemy forces is called as observation post. Intelligence, so here in this context information related to military. At a time, it's a phrasal expression. Remember I told you these phrases and idioms and phrasal verbs are also covered in this vocabulary. Additionally, I am giving to you in the remaining pods. Carry out, like you know, it's a phrasal verb, conducting or performing or executing. Appetite, you know, hunger. Appetite means regular word, regular sense is hunger, but here desire towards something or craving towards something, liking or thirst towards something also can be called as appetite. And here under fire, what is under fire? Being attacked or criticized strongly, it's also a phrasal expression. Means, so means of communication, like method or way of procedure. Addressing or tackling, address means it's a verb here, tackle something, to deal with something, attend to or try to sort out something about related to something. Next, simmering, he used in adjective sense. Fuming or smoldering, brewing, like exaggerated, angry, some kind of negative sense you can say. Occupation, occupation means, so here somebody is doing some work, that is a sort of occupation, but another sense capturing, occupying something also can be used in synonymous to occupation. Annexation, it's a new term, and remember that. Capability, here capability everyone knows, capacity of someone, but here military forces, in this context military forces and resources is called as capability. And aerial, air related root is aerial. Aerial means happening in the air. Wary, which is adjective. Vary exists, here wary, wary, this means cautious, careful or circumspect. Circumspect means watching, circumspect means watching all around. Gaza Strip, so simply Gaza, it's a self-governing Palestinian territory surrounded by what? The Mediterranean Sea, Israel and Egypt. Militant, extremist or radical or fanatic or sectarian, fixed to some particular sect, it's called as militant, something extremist. Baathist means bath party. Bath in Arabic means renaissance or resurrection, like coming out from death is called as resurrection. Bolster, so many times we got this word. Bolster means actually a true meaning, physical meaning is so the sofa the pillows we use are called as bolsters. Like if it is used in the verb sense, it means support or fortify, reinforce or buttress. Buttress also, remember, that's also a new term. Axis means coalition, block, union, like combination, alliance, friendship, relationship. Next, battle hardened, having experience of battle. Next, after effect, aftermath also we say, aftermath, the repercussion, consequences are called as after effects. And the last but not the least, stick to, it's a phrasal verb, abide by or hold to or comply with something is called as stick to. sticking to some principles or something like that. And let's get to editorial of the day, targeting Hezbollah on Israeli attacks in Lebanon. So Israel attacks on, in particular Lebanon, especially targeting Hezbollah, is called the editorial is about that particular thing. Israel and the Shia militant military related. Shia means that sect should not risk a wider war by engaging targeted attacks. So they should not risk this wider war by engaging targeted attacks is the context. The Israeli attacks on Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon following what it is called cross-border fights mark a significant escalation in the crisis that has been building up along the border in recent years. However, so this Israeli attacks on this Hezbollah southern region, Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. In Lebanon, this Hezbollah is a party. It's a military group. So this Israeli named it as a cross-border fight. It's definitely a significant escalation, means intensifying the crisis that has been building along the border in the recent years. So Hezbollah, what is this? A Shia militant political party in Lebanon, and Israel, which have fought 2 wars before, have been observing a 10 years ceasefire for 14 years. 10 years means weak ceasefire, means now and then it's happening continuously. Tensions began after Israel's targeting of Iranian weapons and supplies within Syria. So when all these things started, in the sense they began after this Israel targeting Iranian weapons and Iranian weapons and supplies within Syria. Whenever this started targeting, so tensions means this kind of enmity started. Israel fears that Iranian supplies to Hezbollah via Syria, where the Shia militias fought alongside regime fighters against rebels and Sunni jihadists, would leave them stronger, enhancing Israel's security challenges in the northern border. So why these kind of things happened, in the sense, so Israel has fears, some sort of fears, what this Iranian supplies, if they go to Hezbollah through Syria, definitely these Shia militias so fought alongside these government fighters against rebels and Sunni jihadists opposite to this Israel. Definitely that things will leave them stronger, and this Israel's security concern is going to be more in the particular northern border. That's why through this fear it started targeting this Hezbollah. In July, Hezbollah commander was killed in an Israeli raid means a sudden attack in Syria, for which the group had vowed retaliation. So when it started completely, in the sense, so when this Hezbollah commander was killed in a raid by Israel people, especially in Syria, for which this group organization, Hezbollah organization, completely vowed retaliation, means revenge or vengeance to this commander's murder, assassination. Since then, there have been attempts to target troops on Israel's borders with Lebanon and Syria. Excuse me. According to Israel, so there have been attempts by this Hezbollah on troops of Israel's borders with Lebanon and Syria. In Tuesday's attacks, Israel targeted an observation post, which the Israeli Defense Forces claimed was used by Hezbollah for intelligence collection. So here in Tuesday's attacks, even what was the claim, in the sense, so Israel targeted on a particular observation post, which the Israel Defense Forces claimed was used by Hezbollah. That's why they particularly targeted observation post for intelligence information collection. The raid at a time when Israel was carrying out an air campaign in Gaza shows the growing appetite of the newly formed unity government of Netanyahu under fire at home over its handling of the COVID-19 crisis for war as means to address the simmering border problems. However, so this raid, whatever happened, was carrying so when this Israel was carrying out an air campaign in Gaza, so this shows growing appetite for what of the newly formed unity government of Netanyahu under fire, means it's in a very terrific condition at home over it's so on what on this COVID-19 crisis for war. So as it means, so this is going to be a means of to address these simmering border problems. So in this government, Hezbollah has been a tough target for Israel. However, in 2000, after 18 years of occupation of southern Lebanon, Israel was forced to withdraw mainly due to the fighting of Hezbollah. So however, Hezbollah has been a tough target for Israel right from 2000. So after 18 years of occupation due to this fighting of Hezbollah, so this Israel has to withdraw itself from due to this particular occupation of southern Lebanon. In 2006, what happened? Israel invaded Lebanon and aimed at destroying Hezbollah's military capabilities. Already these things also happened in 2006. But after a month of Israeli aerial and land attacks, even on the day of the ceasefire, Hezbollah fired hundreds of short-range rockets into the northern Israel. So after a month of this particular aerial and land attacks by Israel, so even ceasefire was there, this Hezbollah fired hundreds of rockets on Israel, particularly northern Israel. Ever since, both sides have been very careful of another open conflict. Israeli, which has bombed Gaza several times since 2005, withdrawal from the strip, had been careful when it came to Hezbollah. So, however, Israel even was very careful towards Hezbollah, because so even though it had bombed this Gaza strip and withdrew from this strip in 2005, it has been very careful towards this Hezbollah, in the matter of Hezbollah. The militants on the other side turned their focus to capacity building after the 2006 war and 2011 to the civil war in Syria. So here militants on the other side, what did they do? They turned their focus completely on the capacity building, means building their capacity towards this war after 2006 war, and since 2011 to the civil war in Syria. And so they started building their capacity. The Ba'athist Syria, so Ba'athist means it's a branch, political branch, so which means renaissance or resurrection, we said, has been a vital link between Hezbollah and Iran. So what this Ba'athist Syria and Iran, ever since the group was founded in the early 1980s. However, Mr. Assad has survived the civil war and Iran has substantially increased its footprints in Syria, bolstering Iran-Syria Hezbollah axis. So, however, so where this Iran came into existence in the sense, so during this civil war, this Iran has increased its footprint in Syria. So bolstering means supporting or enhancing this Iran-Syria Hezbollah axis means relationship. Israel sees this axis as a growing security challenge and hence started the bombing operations in Syria, risking another conflict with Hezbollah. So however, this alliance is going to be a security challenge to what? To Israel. That's why it started bombing operations in Syria, so risking another conflict. However, if it does on Syria, definitely it's going to face the same kind of conflict with Hezbollah, even though it started bombing on Syria. The past two wars suggest that it would not be easy for Israel, despite its military might, to defeat the battle-hardened Hezbollah fighters at their base. So however, the past two wars definitely suggested this Israel that it's not going to be very easy for this Israel to defeat this battle-hardened this Hezbollah fighters at their base, especially Hezbollah on the other side. So might resist an Israel attack, but risks pulling Lebanon, already battling an economic crisis, political instability and the after effects of the Beirut blast, into a wider war. Both sides should avoid such an outcome and stick to the ceasefire. So however, what are the outcomes? What is the conclusion in the sense? So here, so definitely it's going to be a wider war. Both sides, so they have to avoid an outcome and stick to the ceasefire. If not, what's going to happen? Already, if it pulls this Lebanon into this war, definitely it's even already doing this economic crisis. It's a battling an economic crisis, political instability, and the after effects of the Beirut recently blast. Definitely, it's going to enter into a wider war. It's going to have very severe effects. That's why both sides should avoid such an outcome. So they have to stick to or fix it to or comply with this ceasefire is going to the conclusion. Let's get to the test of the day. So here I have got you idiomatic expressions. So how these are useful to you in the exam point of view. So here hit home. Hit home means directly you can go to reach home, definitely, which is wrong, because so whatever the things are given in the question, in the idiomatic expression, they don't mean the same in general sense. That's why see the context. It wasn't until he was threatened with losing his job that the comments about John's work ethic really hit home. Not reaching home, not getting lost, not misconceptualized or fully understood, are highly recommended. Here, so see the context carefully. It wasn't until he was threatened with losing job. So, so the comments are about John's work ethics really hit home. So entirely, fully understood. So he fully understood this ethics of these things. John's work ethics were clearly understood. Hit home means directly got to the point. Next, cut corners. When do you cut corners? When you want to skip steps. That is the exact meaning. If you want to cut corners, if you cut corners and don't apply a top coat, then your nails probably are going to chip faster. So if you cut corners, if you skip steps, don't apply a top coat, definitely your nails probably going to be chip faster. It's some sort of meaning. Next question. At the mercy of the weather means under someone's control. Like when you travel by public transportation, you are always at the mercy of the weather means, so you are always under control. Next question. I've gotten the measure of something, in the sense judging something. That's it. The students, I just don't think the topic will hold their interest at an assembly. I just don't think that topic will hold their interest. So I got that knowledge. That's why I judged that. So next question. Walking down memory lane. That itself means that you are remembering past events. Walking down memory lane, whatever the happened things. So directly you can crack some, and indirectly, like through the context, you can crack some. So however, following this editorial, you can crack all. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed watching the class. So once again, subscribe to our channel who you didn't subscribe, and don't forget to share with your friends. And finally, the last but not the least, like, thank you, signing off.